We all love playing games. We have good moments with friends, family, and significant others. As much as we enjoy playing games and the happiness and dopamine it provides, there will always be a dark side to games, whether it be creepypastas, scary stories, weird glitches, but yet we continue to play them. Today I decided to bring you guys 5 stories I found on Reddit of creepy yet true disturbing stories. Now sit back, relax, grab a snack as I unravel and tell these stories. This story takes place in the Murcian neighborhood of Santiago el Mayor. The Rabadans lived there. A couple of their 2 children, a 9-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy, who always had what they wanted. They say he was the darling of the house. The neighbor saw him in a polite, shy, very reserved boy who was never seen hanging out with the other people in the neighborhood because he preferred to spend hours locked up in his room playing with the expensive computer that his parents had given him. He was obsessed with video games, especially one, Final Fantasy. He wanted to emulate his protagonist, so he said at home that he wanted a katana. As they used to do at any request for the young man, his parents agreed. They could not even imagine that this is the worst decision of their lives. On the night of March 31st, 2000, Jose Rabadan went to bed with a goal in his twisted mind. He was going to execute a bloody plan in just a few hours because he wanted to be alone in the world. Already on the morning of April 1st, he got up, seized the katana that he kept with zeal in his room, and burst into his parents' room. His mother did not have time to wake up. He killed her while she slept. His father tried to defend himself. That sharp weapon took off 3 of his fingers. When he tried to protect his face, the attempt was in vain. It was not too difficult for his son to cut off his head, which he put later in a plastic bag. I had a total creep for a WoW guild leader. After a few months break, I renewed my WoW account and transferred servers to be with this girl I used to play with. We had always been 2 peas in a pod, and she convinced me to come join her guild. She was a very pretty young lady, so it was no surprise she had a lot of the guys in our guild wrapped around her finger, including the guild leader, who mistakenly thought they were dating. When he realized it wasn't what he thought, the guild leader had a complete fucking raging meltdown and came to me for guidance. Turns out he lived about 8 or so blocks away from me. He discovered this because many of us had exchanged MySpace accounts beforehand, and naturally he wanted to get together and talk about it. I declined, obviously, since he was a kind of a weird dude. But soon it became clear that he was seeing me more as than just a guildmate, and that he was very eager to meet me. One day he messaged me online and says, "I think I was driving behind you today. Do you live on street?" The only place I had gone to that day was the college I attended, which was not 2 minutes away from where I was living at the time. I drove a thrashy convertible at the time, so I take it that's how he recognized me. And like I said, he did live about 8 blocks away from me. He started making jokes about climbing through my window and scaring me at night. He just loved joking about knowing where I lived. The types of trees in my yard, the cars in my driveway, the things he saw going on outside whether he allegedly had driven by. This went on for quite a while despite me telling him to knock it off. I didn't think it was appropriate to call the cops over someone knowing my mom planted roses outside that day. After a few months I started playing on another server. We lost connection. Near the end of his livestream throughout Active Worlds, an abandoned MMO from the 90s, and without a single player in sight, Vinny was trying to open a locked gate and was lost trying to leave the map. It was there that he encountered Fujiko behind a block of hay. Initially surprised, Vinny was shocked when Fujiko asked him if he was lost. Responding in agreement with his question, Fujiko helped Vinny open a bridge in order to access the map they were on. Vinny was told to follow him, which Vinny was initially reluctant. Fujiko would then lead Vinny to an archery shop and would ask multiple unusual and philosophical questions regarding the physicality of Vinny being human. After Vinny confirms his humanity, Fujiko tells him that he is an elf and is wary of humans. Fujiko tells Vinny that he should leave this world, which Vinny initially does not, and speaks of executing his true intentions. Fujiko also tells Vinny that when he arrived, everyone was gone, and tells him to leave. When Vinny is caught following Fujiko, he questions why he's here, to which Vinny honestly states his origin from the main area of active worlds. Fujiko then attempts to rid Vinny by transforming his avatar to a beast and telling him to run. Vinny does so and quickly loses sight of Fujiko. Wondering of his whereabouts, intrigued by this encounter, Vinny decides to turn back and express his unanswered questions. After a few minutes of searching, he finds Fujiko inside of a house. Before ending the game, Vinny questions Fujiko if he is actually human and where every person went. Fujiko answers this question with a monologue. I am an ancient person. I was once a ruler of these lands. You happened. You came here. And they disappeared. You killed all those innocent people, but even you still, you are innocent. I'm sorry, traveler. I am sorry. Goodbye, Vinny. I recently built a new PC. It wasn't exactly powerful as I wanted to spend as little money as possible on it. It was good enough to run Source Engine games like TF2, but nothing like BF3 or Crysis. I was strictly looking for the cheapest way to get into PC gaming, looking for a bit of nostalgia before I began to play some Team Fortress. I popped in my Halo CE into the disk tray and installed it. I have some fond memories playing with my group of friends and wanted to relive a bit of my past. I instantly started to have problems installing it. Aside from the minor compatibility issues this game has with Windows 7, I didn't have my CD code. Well, technically, I still have it, but the game CD was tied to some other PC that was long gone. I was fed up with that, so I just booted up another game, slightly frustrated, then I wasted about a half hour of my life on that thing. It didn't take me long to start looking for workarounds so I could eventually play. I found a key engine and the game started to install. I picked the name I used years ago, Discjend, and hopped into a multiplayer lobby. I just picked a random game of CTF and joined to see if everything worked. It didn't. A pop-up appeared and said the server client needs to be updated. The error message got weirder and weirder. I should have taken a screenshot of them. Some of them were almost laughable. Random selections of words would replace the error messages. Completely random. It seemed no one else online had this problem. The ones that did were told to try updating their game. This information was no use to me because I updated it when I first booted it up. However, I still wanted to play. It didn't really matter if no one could join my gimpy out-of-date server, so I went and created an internet game before this. I started up Fraps to capture any weird error messages. I chose CTF on Blood Gludge. The game started to load. Now, some of you guys that have played Halo extensively know that there are certain points on any given map that you can glitch up to so people can't find you. These points require that you utilize glitches like push yourself through a wall with a vehicle, but there was always one I couldn't get into. It took such a crucial mouse movements and careful precision to even make it up the first step. Since I have nothing better to do in an empty server, I reattempted the glitch. So I got myself into a ghost and made my way over up to the middle-ish part of the map. I lined myself up against the wall pillar and began to try to nudge myself into the wall. If you hurry yourself, it's too slowly, you'll just be knocked off the side. If you do it too quickly, you will just plain knock yourself through the wall into the abyss. Getting between there is where I'm trying to get. A few tries later, and I'm in. That was the easy part. The next few parts are hard to explain in text. I kinda shimmy across the wall until I start to get pushed off by something invisible. I now have to jump on the invisible thing without sliding off. It's cake from there. A few tries later and I had it. The vantage point this glitch had on the center of the map made it rightfully so for it to be the hardest to achieve. My victory was cut short when my Spartan drops dead. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. Maybe I was out of bounds for too long? I couldn't think about this for too long until I started dying randomly even more. I started to get creep out, and the text just said, Discjend died. I had never seen this pop up like this in Halo before. I went down into my base just to make sure nothing was hitting me. I sat there for what it seemed like minutes. I was observing everything. I leaned forward so my face was almost touching my monitor. My screen went blank for a second. I didn't have any time to notice what was going on when I heard this horrible screeching noise. I reacted by knocking off my headphones onto the keyboard. Everything was dark. Dark to the point where I can barely make out anything. Then a player joined. The player who joined my seemingly impossible to join server was named Juliet. I was thinking this might have been the person who was making me drop dead. It also must have been her who made that horrible sound. It seemed impossible for her to control my Spartan's life or emit noises that aren't in the game. I went to see if I can go shoot at her, so I took off to Blue Base. I was thinking this was maybe all a coincidence, and a couple other players would join, and this would be a normal game of CTF. The outward appearance of the Blue Base seemed normal, but inside was something disturbing. On the left wall in front of me, there were words like I made out, "Find me." I was just about to exit right out the game, but I was stopped in my tracks when a text appeared on my screen. "I nearly forgot you can chat in this game." Juliet typed a smiley face. "Who are you?" Juliet said. "Let's play hide and seek." After I dropped dead once again, I quit and shut down my server. I didn't want to hear whatever she had to say next, and frankly, I was kinda creeped out by the whole entire situation. I honestly don't know if this is a normal occurrence. Maybe the community has been overrun with hackers, and this happens all the time. So the gist of my plan is to play hide and seek with her, and see where this takes me. I honestly don't know how I didn't make the connection between Find Me and her saying let's play hide and seek. But here's the problem. This was probably just some one-time thing, a random occurrence. Although I'm giving myself the benefit of the doubt, I don't think she'll come back. I'm still gonna play though, same setup and everything. It probably gives me a better chance of summoning Juliet again. And with all that out of the way, I didn't think I have much else to say. Nothing much happened afterwards since I quit out the game. I mentioned that I had something creepy happen on the game during the trip. They seem to find this hilarious, or that their main source are ridiculing me, saying things like, "Oh, should we pack up early? I don't want to keep you from performing an exorcism on your game desk." Time has passed, and the night before I didn't get to sleep. I was too excited to play. No, excited isn't the word. I was anxious to play. I wanted to get this out the way so I could move on with my life. All I needed to do was just see if she would join again and play hide and seek. So why not pull the band-aid and play so I can rest easy tomorrow? Well, I did just that. I started up Halo and created a LAN server instead of an internet server. This time I know if some weird crap was really going on. I hit start server and the map started to load up. Well, the first thing I noticed was that I can actually see again. Everything looked pretty normal enough. This wasn't nearly as scary as I remember it being. I decided to give myself a 10-minute limit to wait before I tried switching it to an internet game, or just calling it a night. All I could do was just fill the time by aimlessly wandering around Bloodgulch. This obviously got bored after 3-4 minutes. I started calling out to her. "Hey Juliet, getting tired here. What am I supposed to do?" That seemed to do it. Juliet joined. A strange mixture of fear and confusion came over me. I thought I had everything figured out. I thought she was just gonna be a random player who was just screwing with me. But now it looks as she was waiting for me. And on top of all that, I was playing on a LAN game. I didn't believe what I was seeing. Am I now supposed to believe she is some sort of magical technology ghost that transcends space and time? I don't know what I believe anymore. Juliet said, "Do you want to play now?" I replied, "Yeah." My game froze and everything went dark again, but this time there was a noise. It was just looping over and over again. I started to look around for her, barely able to keep my mouse under control because I was shaking. I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't really want to do this. I don't know why I said yes to her, but I feel I'd be letting you guys down if I didn't see this through. Juliet replied, "Count to 10. So I counted to 10. I was just gonna search from the most back far of the map. That seems like the most efficient way to go about this. I eventually found her crouched in the corner looking at me. Juliet said, "You found me." I didn't know whether or not she was just going to leave after I found her, so I immediately asked her, "Who are you exactly?" Juliet replied, "That's not the question you should be asking." I replied, "Then what should I be?" Juliet replied, You should be looking for a place to hide. And with that, she quit out of the server. I tried for an hour after this trying to get her back. I even made a server named Juliet. Please join. None of that worked. She's gone. After all, she got what she wanted. A simple game of hide and seek. A few years ago when Steam was old, real old, the retro days of Half-Life and Team Fortress, I had an account that I used to play Half-Life Deathmatch and generally played mods on. I had just about one friend on Steam at the time who I knew well. I never really interacted with people in online games. I got this ad from a guy called Toymaker26. I didn't recognize the name from any game I had played, so I declined. A few weeks later, on the same day, at around the same time, I get a notification that Toymaker26 has added me as a friend, which was creepy to say the least. I gave him the benefit of the doubt by accepting, thinking maybe he was a real life friend or something. As soon as I did, a chat box popped up saying, "Hi, are you okay?" Or something to that effect, but before I could say the generic "I'm good, you," he sent me this link that I knew clearly was a virus link. Being a fearless bastard, I clicked it just to see what would happen. Boy, was that a mistake. The webpage opened up with these really low quality pictures of people mutilated and the sound playing in the back like a really distant laughter that was on loop. I remember my heart literally drained from fear. I'm sure you know the feeling. I obviously clicked out of it, but my desktop background was a close-up of one of the fucked up images. My disk drive kept opening and closing. A message popped up asking if I was okay before my computer completely shut down. It never turned on again. A forever blue screen. We had to get a new PC. I remember apparently every file on the computer had been corrupted, even BIOS data. I still have no idea who Toymaker26 is to this day, and why he did it.